This fight was very fun and scrappy, okay? For the first 2 rounds, I had it actually 1-1. I scored the first round for Chris Curtis. It was very close, but I felt like just because of how much output he had and the amount of jabs he was landing and whatnot, and that his defense was pretty sound, he was making Kopylov miss a lot as well. I edged him that round. When it ended, I said it was really close and I wasn't entirely sure, but I edged it and gave it to Chris Curtis. However, second round comes up, Kopylov brings it back, wins that round. Oh no, sorry. Chris Curtis actually won the second round. Sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong round. Second round comes around, Chris Curtis gets better and gets faster and starts landing the jab more often. He cuts Kopylov open. I think he broke Kopylov's nose in that round too. And the numbers start to get very wide apart, okay? We're at a point where now Curtis is like 25 strikes ahead of Kopylov, and I think he was landing like 55% a pop, and Kopylov was landing like 35% a pop. I believe Kopylov was throwing more and landing less. I think I saw at one point they showed the strikes, and it was like 250. It was like 80 landed out of 250 for Kopylov, and it was something like 110 out of 200 for Chris Curtis. I think that's right, because that's about 55%. That's the second round, and he just walks away with it. At the end of the second round, I believe Kopylov had a little bit of a second wind, and he didn't get mollywopped the whole round, but he did lose that round very, very clearly. And then third round comes around, and he starts winning the round, Kopylov this is, and he actually kind of pretty clearly is winning this round, if you ask me. Curtis is still there and fighting, but Kopylov's really starting to walk away with a lot more defensively sound, clipping Curtis with big shots. He got Curtis on shaky legs, wobbling around on multiple occasions. I think he even might have had Curtis like stumble down to a knee or something like that at one point. I could be wrong, but I believe Curtis, maybe he just kind of did a shaky leg dance and didn't actually fall down, but he clipped Curtis with one thing that he did recover from, but for about 5-10 seconds, Curtis looked like, is he going to fall over on his own here, or is he going to recover here? Because it looked like he was going to trip over just by himself after he got hit with that. And then, last 15 seconds of the round, they just decide to stand in the middle, get a bit scrappy, and all of a sudden, Kopylov whips up a fucking head kick from hell, and it just fucking, I don't even know what you'd call that part of your leg, but ignore my pajama pants, but like, that fucking bit of your foot right there. It's not your shin, but it's also not like your foot. It's this little bit in between right there. And it just connects clean right on the fucking side of the neck and jaw of Curtis. He goes down immediately onto all fours, down on the mat. Arguably, this is what I said when I was watching it, I think that Curtis would have won the fight if he just got up, or if Kopylov chased him down to the mat. Now, I think the entire thing that won Kopylov this fight, granted, I'd like to point out that after this fight happened, they did say that actually the judges had it 1-1 going into the third round, so evidently the judges gave Kopylov the first round, which I did not, so that's neither here nor there, but Kopylov actually would have won that decision because he won the third round and the judges gave him the first. But I thought Chris Curtis was going to win that decision. So arguably, it doesn't actually matter for Chris Curtis because he got finished, yeah, sure, but it would have been a decision regardless 3 seconds later. It was a finish, you know? It was either you lost a decision where you got knocked out in the last 3 seconds but totally were fine, you know? Or you get knocked out right at the end of the fight and then they go, yeah, that's it. And then you would have lost the decision anyway, so it doesn't matter. Now, this is where I wanted to point out, and I did point out in my live stream, this is an example of where walk-off KOs are actually needed, okay? There is really bad examples of walk-off KOs, and the example that I gave was Moicano versus Jalen Turner. If Jalen Turner just chased Moicano down to the mat, okay, regardless of Moicano's jiu-jitsu credentials off his back, there's like a second or two, maybe 3 seconds, where the guy takes a minute to really rekindle his brain inside of his skull and actually get coherent and be like, okay, my guard is up, I'm ready, you know, I know what I'm doing. That's when you have a moment to get in there, even before you get into his guard and chase some ground and pound. You can fucking Superman your way down into one shot and hope that you manage to land that shot. Jalen Turner, being 6'3", could have absolutely thrown the most monstrous fucking whoosh down onto Jalen Turner on the mat. But he didn't. He walked off. And Moicano very smartly got his wits about him, put his guard up, put his hands behind his head, and goes, "Hey, look, I'm fine. I'm not hurt. You're gonna have to come and get me, bro. I'm not hurt." And the ref looks at him, goes, he looks at Jalen. He's like, "You're gonna go get him?" He's not done. Look at him. He's got his eyes open. He's got his feet up. He's ready. He's ready for you to come in into his guard. That's all you need to do as the guy on the bottom. If Curtis had have simply just rolled over to his back, I think, and put his legs up, open up a guard, I don't know if they stop it. And secondly, if Kopylov chases Chris Curtis to the ground, I don't know if they stop it. I don't think they do stop it if he chases Chris Curtis to the ground. But it's because he hits Chris Curtis like that. It's the mixture of all these things. Curtis, down on all fours, not getting up at all, okay? Mixed with Kopylov landing the kick, whoosh, and immediately just turning and walking away. Immediately, not even like going like, "Yeah, is that good, ref?" Okay, he just like lands it and goes. And I think that sways the ref a bit. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that this is like a unfair advantage that Kopylov managed to give himself or something like that. It's just smart. This is when walk-offs are good. You got to hit the walk-off KO when the guy isn't going to get up. Now, he could be capable of responding like Curtis was. He was probably pretty capable of rolling over to his back and responding. But he just didn't do that. He didn't give the clear signs that I'm ready to keep fighting. And I don't know if he did that because he knew the fight was going to end in 3 seconds. So he thought he didn't need to. But when you get knocked down with a head kick and you go fucking onto your hands and knees and you've got your back turned to the guy that just head kicked you and he's got his back turned to you because he's walking away, it looks like you just got knocked out, man. It does. And the ref's looking at that, he's like, "You're not intelligently defending yourself." That is my criteria as a referee when I decide who wins a fight based on a finish for a KO or TKO. Are you intelligently defending yourself? If the answer is no, I don't care what the clock says. I'm waving off the fight. It can be 1 second. It can be 2 seconds. It says here that apparently it was 4 minutes, 59 seconds. It wasn't. It was like, the ref probably waved it at like 4:58, 4:59, but it was at like, there was like 5 seconds left, 4 seconds left when Kopylov hit him with the kick. And Curtis was on his back with like 2 seconds left. And then the ref comes over, goes, "Okay," and waves it off, But again, like I mentioned before, interesting to know that it actually would have been Kopylov's decision win anyway. Because he won the first round on the judges' scorecards, which is weird. I did say at the start that it could have been let me quickly Google it now and see if I can actually find Roman Kopylov versus Chris Curtis scorecards. I said that the first round could be a split. The first round could be one that goes either way. Maybe 2 judges say it for one, maybe 1 judge says it for another. But no, all 3 judges gave Kopylov that first round. And then all 3 judges gave gave Curtis the second round. Very interesting. Yeah, well, that's just the story of it, man. Those striking numbers in the third round and the amount of control and damage and stuff that Kopylov was doing in the third round was much above what he was doing in the earlier rounds. And that is inevitably, I'm going to say, would have won him the decision, even if he didn't get this finish. So, it is what it is. It sucks for Chris Curtis, but he tried to blame the ref, and then even his coach. What's his coach's name? He's Strickland's coach as well. Extreme Couture, redhead guy. Can't remember his name. He's also Ngannou's coach. Eric Nixick. Was like also complaining about like, they do this every fucking time to you, man. Like, I know Chris Curtis has had some bad decisions and moments and stuff like that, and like awkward results in fights. This isn't one of them. I'm sorry. This isn't one of them, especially because he was going to lose the decision. He was about to lose the decision. Now, you could argue that that's an incorrect decision. Sure. If you want to argue that you can, but you have to argue 2 points then. You have to say, A, that shouldn't have been a finish, and B, the judges were wrong. So you're just blaming everyone at this point, which sucks because it's possible that you're right. It's possible that the judge shouldn't have stopped it, and the ref shouldn't have stopped it, and it's possible the judges should have seen that first round for Chris Curtis, but they didn't. They're both against you here. You're not arguing against one person's call. You're arguing against 4 people's calls. The ref and all 3 judges all said that this is a finish, and that first round is Kopylov's. That means it was impossible for Curtis to win regardless at the end of that round. Even once there was like a minute left, Kopylov had already won the round based on that, and it was pretty much too late from there on. So Curtis obviously cannot be aware of that during the fight, but he still, like, he complained a shit ton about it afterwards. I can't hate him. Apparently this was his last fight on his UFC contract, so he might get cut. He might get cut from the UFC. What's his record? Ready? Let's find out what Chris Curtis's UFC record is. Chris Curtis in the UFC is at 5-4-1. Yeah. Fuck, that sucks. Hey. Oh yeah, because so he lost to Brendan Allen just before that. He was doing good at first, man. He came in, goes 1, 2, 3 wins, loses to Hermansson, beats Buckley, then loses to Gastelum, and then he has a no contest with Imavov, beats Barrio by a split decision in one of the shittest fights I've fucking watched, and then loses to Brendan Allen by split decision, and then gets KO'd by Kopylov, but arguably was about to lose a unanimous decision. Tough shit, man. It sucks. It really does suck for him. I mean, I can't, I can only be upset for him. I can't actually be upset about the fight because I loved the result and it was very entertaining and the right call got made. So I can feel bad for him, but I don't feel like the result should have changed. I don't think anything was done wrong. I don't think anybody made a bad call. So it is what it is. Chris Curtis, unfortunate. Roman Kopylov back in the win column, however, with a brutal KO. So I'm excited to see what they decide to do with him next. Possibly, maybe we have a Hernandez rematch in the future. Not next, I'm not saying that, but maybe if Kopylov is to rekindle a win streak, he could be dealing with that being one of his only losses. And if Hernandez is to make his way up middleweight with his fucking ridiculous cardio grappling style, like he has done with Michel Pereira, maybe we're going to end up seeing these two clash again later. I feel like we might, because I do think Kopylov is very dangerous and is going to continue to do very well. So, yeah, good shit from Kopylov. Excited to see him continue.